What I'm about to read to you is an English version of a Spanish creepypasta called The Blue Flash Drive. I will put the original transcript, the video that came afterwards, and the English edit of this creepypasta in the description below. Viewer discretion is advised. My name is Gonzalo Guzman Camaño. I'm going to tell you about something horrible that happened to me. I couldn't keep it to myself any longer, so I decided to write it down for the sake of my sanity. Just know that what happened to me is all true. It all started one night, around 2 weeks ago. I received an unexpected visit from an old friend of mine. His face was pale, and his body was rapidly shaking. He was holding a blue flash drive in his right hand. He slowly held it up to my face. "Take it," he whispered. Though I was scared, I did what he said, then put the flash drive in my pocket. Immediately after, my friend put his hands to his face and began to cry in silence. He then falls to the ground. His cries became more intense until they became screams of agony. I was terrified and tried to ask him what was happening and if he was okay. He kept screaming and shaking on the ground for a few seconds. Then he stopped breathing. I screamed for help, and my mom ran towards me. The rest I prefer not to remember. The day of his funeral was one of the most saddening events I've experienced, and seeing my friend's entire family cry for him destroyed me inside. The autopsy said that the cause of death had been epileptic seizure, but they never asked me from my side of the story. I never knew why. When I got home, I locked myself inside my bedroom and began to cry, replaying the moment of his death in my head over and over and over again. Then I remembered. The flash drive. I searched my pocket and found the flash drive, then went to the computer room and closed the door. At first I hesitated to connect the flash drive to the computer. I felt totally terrified at that moment, but I had to see what was in there. I turned the computer on, and as soon as it loaded, I quickly inserted the flash drive. A window appeared saying that the flash drive had a couple folders. One had a document written in a language that I didn't understand. The other I opened without thinking. The folder contained a file called Sonic.EXE. I noticed that the name was misspelled, but thought nothing of it. I tried to open the file, but then an error message appeared. I don't remember exactly what it said. I only remember that it said something about the file not existing. I felt a little relief, but then I remembered that the name itself was misspelled. I managed to fix the file by correcting the name more than once, so I added an E to the word hedgehog. The file allowed me to correct the name, leaving it as Sonic.Hedgehog.exe. That's when I remembered. My dead friend loved Sonic the Hedgehog. I felt a little dread when I remembered this, but calmed down since Sonic was just a friendly blue fictional character. I opened the renamed file and the screen went completely black. A few seconds later, in the lower right part of the screen, some text appeared that said loading with 3 ellipses that appeared and disappeared frequently. "It's a fucking game!" I exclaimed. I didn't know how to feel about this. I waited for it to load, and the screen changed to a fully colored 16-bit landscape background with the Sonic the Hedgehog logo. Sonic pops up and wags his finger like he does in the classic games as the opening jingle plays. For a moment I thought the contents of the flash drive had nothing to do with the death of my friend. That was, until I saw the fine print of the main menu of the game, where it should say Sega and the year the game was released, and instead had text that was written in what seemed to be the same strange language as the document I opened. Despite this, I decided to press the enter button. The name of the level appeared, the music from the original game started playing, then the level began. I moved left and right with the arrow keys on the keyboard and could jump with the spacebar. I held down the right button and went through the level. Sonic seemed to play the same as he did in the original game. Everything seemed normal until I collided with an enemy. In the original game, if you collide with an enemy, you take damage as indicated by yellow rings coming out of Sonic. But this did not happen here. Instead of rings, some very strange objects came out in the shape of a red square. My optimism really wanted to say it was a simple bug, but deep inside me I knew that something was very, very wrong. I kept going until I finished the level. The next level, however, was when everything went downhill. Text was displaying the same strange language that I mentioned earlier where the level name should be. This time when the level started, the background was not normal. The water was now blood red. That's when I pressed the escape button to close the game. The game didn't close. I pressed Ctrl Alt Delete. That didn't work either. I began to panic, not knowing what to do till it was too late. The screen started to violently distort. Then the screen flashed a bright light that paralyzed me. I couldn't move or close my eyes. I could only see the horrible, messed up things that were appearing on the screen afterwards. The screams of a woman began to play, similar to the ones that would play in those horror pranks on the internet. Sonic was crying blood and his face was now taking up the whole screen while the text that said RIP flashed everywhere. The woman's screams were starting to get louder and louder. I wanted to cry, scream, or call for help, but since I wasn't able to move, or even speak, my eyes could only water. I couldn't even shiver. I'm gonna end up like him, I thought to myself, terrified. Then the screen turned black, and the screams stopped. I tried to move again, but to no avail. Then a huge number 10 appeared on the screen, written in red. Then it changed to 9, 8, 7. I have to get out of here, I thought. But I was still unable to move. 6, 5. However, with a huge amount of effort and through sheer willpower, I managed to move my finger, then my head, then my arms, then my entire body. The count was at 2 when I jumped to the floor, closed my eyes, and covered my head as if someone was about to shoot me. I heard a horrible scream of a woman, similar to the one from before, only this one sounded far scarier, felt far more real, and lasted far longer. I quickly crawled over to the computer, disconnected the cable, took out the flash drive, and stomped on it until it was completely destroyed. As far as I knew, the nightmare was over. Despite this though, I couldn't stop shivering. I wiped my tears, then left the computer room without looking back. I never told anyone about this until now. I don't know if I should tell anyone else after this or just try to forget it ever happened. But the one thing I am sure of is that whatever happened after that countdown, I'm glad I never got to see it. And I'm glad no one else ever will.